You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List on 93 WIBC.
Welcome to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List. My name is Kyle Hawk, and I'm going to be your host today. And here on Chat with the Experts, we're all about providing our listeners with the very best and tips and advice when it comes to your home, health, and lifestyle topics. And every week, we bring knowledgeable service providers onto our show to answer your questions and get our information straight from the experts. Last week here on the show, we welcomed in the amazing Andy Lindis of Lindis Construction out in Baldwin, Wisconsin. He joined us to talk about how you can start preparing right now for those big home improvement projects in the spring. And if you're considering a home remodel next year but don't know where to start, this episode is chock full of information that you're going to want to hear. You can find it by subscribing to our podcast on iTunes. Just pull up the podcast app on your smartphone or pull up iTunes on your home computer. Search Chat with the Experts. You can subscribe to our show and stay up to date on every single episode as we release it. You can also find our show at angieslist.com, and this is where you're going to get reliable service providers and reviews on those providers in your area. It's never been easier to hire local quality service. We've been talking about big home projects. You're really going to want to do your research before you make a hire. You can do it at Angie's List. If you join today, use the promo code WIBC40. You're going to get an additional 40% off that annual membership, so don't miss out on that. angieslist.com. Well, as I mentioned last week, was all about preparing for home improvement projects in the spring, but what if you can't wait that long? Well, fortunately, there are a number of home projects that are perfect for the winter time, and they can be accomplished within the warm comfort of your home. However, it's important to know how to stay on task and manage the project to completion to avoid a constant mess and just having continual unfinished work around your home. And joining us today to share his expertise when it comes to project management and home improvement advice is Larry Greene of Case Design and Remodeling right here in Indianapolis. And since 2003, Case Design has specialized in complete interior design services, including architecture, kitchen and bath design, computer modeling, home additions, and a whole lot more. They're all-around home improvement experts, and we're thrilled to have Larry with us today. Larry, welcome to Chat with the Experts.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
As I mentioned, the company started in 2003. How did you get into the home improvement business?
Well, I was a unique story. I had a career change midstream. I have a civil engineering degree,
okay,
and a master's in business, and wanted to have my own business. And I was always very passionate about architecture and home design, and decided to pursue a business actually in that field. So I left my corporate career behind and investigated different options, becoming a home builder, becoming a home remodeler. And I actually felt that the market needed some more professional home remodeling companies, as opposed to home building seemed to be kind of saturated at that time. So basically I looked into starting a business on my own versus some franchises, and Case is actually a franchise, and I decided that was a way to ramp up quicker, be able to get some systems and processes that were proven versus having to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch. So 2003, I took the plunge and started with really just 4 or 5 employees, and today we're up to about 42 full-time employees.
Yeah, you've obviously grown substantially over the past 12 years. And given that you guys do so many different parts of the process, and we'll get into that a little bit more later, but I wonder what's the best part of the job for you? Is it the process of actually bringing about the remodel to completion, or is it being able to present that final product to the consumer?
Well, for me personally, I think what we really like is that homeowners, they usually know bits and pieces of what they need, but they don't know the whole picture. And we like to be able to show them that we can take them, by the hand, so to speak, and lead them through the whole process. Soup to nuts, be able to start with design and planning and budgeting and take them all the way through the construction. And so I think, the end product's usually the most rewarding when the homeowner's happy and they love what the final product is. But there's a lot of work that goes on to get to that point.
Yep. And that's what we're going to kind of be focusing in on today. We're going to talk about a variety of home improvement options that are out there as the winter months approach. But I want to start by asking you about project management. How important is that element to you in the overall process when it comes to a big home improvement job or a remodel?
Well, project management is just incredibly vital. What I think of about is really communication, number one. That's the lessons we've learned over the years is that's what homeowners need. That's what they expect, is constant communication from start to finish. And, if anything ever breaks down on communication, that's usually when a homeowner starts to feel, restless or nervous or concerned. So There's a lot of technical aspects to project management, but at the end of the day, the number one thing is communication and setting expectations. And the other thing that you have to realize is that most of these projects, we're working inside their home. They don't move away. They actually are living there. So everything is magnified as far as from the homeowner's viewpoint. Their concerns are so critical because they're living there, watching everything take place. It's usually a pretty big disruption to their life.
Yeah. Something we've learned just by doing the show is the importance of communication during the process. It's one thing to hire somebody that's going to be skilled to do the job, but you want to know what's going on and you want to be able to build that relationship. So when I'm hiring a contractor, what should they have to say about project management? If I bring that up and about how the communication is going to work, I mean, what should their response be?
Well, a good thing to ask a contractor is number one is schedule, and not just, hey, what's the schedule going to be like, but ask for a written schedule, something in writing. In our case, we give the homeowner a schedule up front. We give them a weekly email every Friday afternoon with an update. So if there's any changes, they see those. And I call it belts and suspenders, meaning we're probably talking to the homeowner every week and hopefully several times a week. But just in case they both work or we miss them that day when we were at their home, the Friday emails is an extra way to communicate, so they get that they can read that on their own. So a schedule is important, and then the other thing I think about is really protecting their home. So if you're a homeowner, for example, do you want a lot of trucks in your driveway that might leak oil? Do you want materials stored in your garage so that that's an inconvenience? You don't have the space you need for your own garage. So, where people are going to park, what time they're going to come and go, what kind of schedule is there. There's nothing worse for a homeowner, I think, than getting up in the morning and early at 7:30 and then the contractor doesn't show up. So there's a lot of expectations, but you need to ask those questions because unfortunately the home remodeling industry has a wide variety of companies, everything from, a mom and pop to medium-sized to larger companies, and everybody does it differently. So I wouldn't really want to assume anything. Yeah.
You mentioned the importance of having that written schedule on hand. What are some tips as the homeowner, once this project starts, what can I do to make sure that things are moving along at the right pace? I mean, is that something that all happens on the front end and then should be expected to carry out, or are there things that the homeowner can do as it's happening?
Well, the number one thing is to have the design and the materials selected and everything nailed down on the front end. And what we like to do is have all that work done and then have what we call a pre-construction meeting about 2 to 3 weeks before the job starts. In that meeting, we go over the plans and the specifications, and we make sure the homeowner doesn't have any questions. But we also go over the logistical items. Do you have any pets? Do you have a security system? What time do you want us to show up and leave every day? And all those things that are nuances or things that become very important to the homeowner. So a good pre-construction meeting a couple weeks ahead of time is important. And then at that meeting, then we'll go through the schedule, which is, hey, this is going to be a 4-week job or a 6-week job or an 8-week job. There may be slight changes, but honestly, that schedule inside where there's no weather issues shouldn't change hardly at all. So I think, again, homeowners, what they don't like is surprises. They don't want to think it's a 2-week job and it takes 4, or that's very annoying and hard to deal with as a homeowner.
Yeah, it almost makes too much sense, to have all of this talked about beforehand. And I wonder, you mentioned, some of the things you were thinking about as you started the company. Was that something you found was lacking in this realm, in the remodeling realm, was just that lack of communication and project management?
Yeah, I think so. The world I came from, I was involved with municipal projects, building highways and bridges and buildings. And that world has a lot of rules and regulations. But, I always say the home remodeling world is kind of like the Wild West. There's no rules, buyer beware. So there aren't really standards. In central Indiana, for example, it's really there is an Indiana home improvement law that was passed in 2010, I believe, and that law, by the way, is a great law to protect homeowners. Everything in there is to protect the consumer. But most people don't know anything about that law. That law does require a written schedule to be given to the homeowner. There's rules about how much of a down payment should be made. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to ask the right questions because the companies out there in the industry do things very differently. There's not really a set standard.
Yeah, no question. We're going to take a brief break in the action here, but we're just getting started on Chat with the Experts today. Coming back after the break, we're going to talk with Larry about common home improvements that can be done on the home during the winter months and a whole lot more. So stay right here. You're listening to Chat with the Experts, brought to you by Angie's List.
Introducing the all-new Angie's List app, your on-the-go resource for great local service. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can access ratings and reviews, shop offers, and request scheduling assistance from the palm of your hand. Submit and stay up to date on your projects. Redesigned and easy to use, the new Angie's List app makes getting more from your membership simple and convenient. Anytime, anywhere. Download the free Angie's List app on iTunes today.